Since we've technically started, welcome everybody to tonight's totally non-masterclass in any way, shape, or form. I'm not charging for it, and you're guaranteed to get your money's worth. It is a total grab bag of stuff that, you know what it is? I hate to say it. It's mostly shit I want to say. But you don't need to listen to that. So what you should do is, there's a couple things that actually motivated tonight's class. And one of them is that people have been sending me pieces. Good for you. They need a lot of work usually, but I've been getting people sending stuff and being able to give feedback. And the way I do that, just to let you know, is when you send me a piece and I get the link for it in my email, usually to SoundCloud, or sometimes the file's attached. Before I click it, before I do a thing, I just start I start listening to, I start recording my microphone, and I just give you my real-time first audience's impressions of the piece, which honestly is probably the only time it's really worthwhile. And I give it to you totally unfiltered and uncensored. My first thoughts, it's as raw and brutal as it should be, and it's the last time I'll ever have any objectivity on the piece, and it's also the only way I can take time for it. You know what I mean? Because I've been working a lot, and so, what is it? 2 minutes? I've got 2 minutes. Everybody's got 2 fucking minutes, or sometimes it's less. And then just to talk about it, and then you can go away and do it. Tonight, while we're on this thing and you're here, if you have a piece you want me to listen to, you should hang your dick out, or whatever it is that you hang out, and you should put the link in the social stream. We should all listen to it, and I will critique it live. We'll talk about how to make it better. You'll have a free private lesson right here, right now. You should do that. Plus the thing, putting your thing out there in front of everybody, that's so great for you. That's so great for everybody. It's like a recital. Totally do that. You will earn major respect points, plus you'll get all kinds of stuff for it. And let me tell you, make no bones about this. You will only ever be as good as the level of criticism you can hear. That's it. That's as simple as I can make that. The point at which something, well, that's just too personal, that's too close, this piece was too important, you can just, that's it. From that point on, you are a plateau or going backwards. You have always got to be seeking out and striving for a higher level. Otherwise, your art stagnates and you stagnates. Man, that could be said about everything in your whole life. So getting used to that sting, being able to keep yourself, used to and trained to hear the information, and not get defensive, not turn it on the messenger, all that stuff. Not to be clear on what your goal is. If your goal is to have people blow sunshine up your ass, that's very easy to do. Play it for your mom and your best friend or whatever. If you want to be a better composer, you want to be playing it for as many people, especially people whose opinions you can trust or do trust, and listening to it, and realizing that the real ego that you'll earn is when you're good, and when you don't have to worry about who hears it, that you're just good at what you do. So keep your eye on the prize and put your stuff out there. Plus, honestly, I don't care who poses as what. Me, John Williams, anybody, everybody has a fucking journey. Everybody starts somewhere doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and there's no point in having anything like this sort of virtual mentorship if you don't take advantage of it. There's no point. Because you gotta put it out there, and there's nothing to fear. That's not what this is. What I will not tell you is, I will not tell you nobody's gonna judge here. No, that's exactly the point. We're gonna judge the shit out of it. But unlike those asshole, short dick, douchey, never faced his bullies, I'm guessing, Simon Cowell type people who just kick people's dicks in and then go home. Here, you're on the tails of that criticism is some actual help. I will not criticize something if I'm not willing to help you, because that takes nothing. Anybody can do that. No, I don't like that. Thanks. Great. Yeah. That's not my gig. So put it out there, and it's like there'll be a wet kiss at the end of the hard fist. It's a wet kiss at the end of the hard fist. That's the move there. Mark said, did that not let you, my brain is only half on, did that not let you do whatever you're trying to do? Is it like won't let you put slashes in there? Really? Fuck you, Ustream TV. All right, we'll get through it. Maybe I'll take a break and assemble them at one point. Minimizing this window. Do I have piano sound? Yes, we still have that. And you're hearing me, and we have. All right. Okay. Can't do links, you dicks. It's okay. Don't worry. We'll get through it. We won't be stopped by that. That's not going to stop us. It's funny. Oh, I can't type slashes. Okay, we'll get to that. But let's talk about what motivated tonight's class. A couple things. For the last couple of weeks, I have not been doing music. I've been doing my other life. I've been doing all the. I've been doing music videos for who are apparently huge, giant, world famous DJs. I don't follow that, so I don't know. But one of them, there's he did a remix of a tune from Tron, and another one he did a remix of a tune from Frozen. And I'm doing all the visuals for these things. You know, they put them on the big screens behind the DJs when they go to these, I don't know, EDC or whatever they do. And and I'm working on these things, and I'm like, talk about the biggest scam in the universe. I mean, if these things took these guys an hour, it's ridiculous. They just lift the hook out of the thing and then just do some generic little thing, a couple of filter sweeps, one build, and then and then repeat. And I'm just like, they're not even trying. I've been working on that for a couple of weeks. I've gotten a bunch of pieces to hear from other people that are in various stages of disrepair. I've been just getting a lot of questions again from people about the industry, about moving to LA. I've been getting a lot of questions about making a life and a relationship and all of those sorts of things inside the business. And so I wanted to come and spend some time talking about the life, about all of this stuff, and most specifically about the idea that that entropy increases. You know, entropy, it's the essence of the second law of thermodynamics. It's one of the basic precepts upon which we build our understanding of the universe, if we have one. It's this idea that everything is dissolving and decaying into chaos 24 hours a day. You know, the entire universe is heading toward a heat death. And if you don't dust your house, it'll just get dustier. And then if you don't maintain it, the lights will burn out and the roof will collapse. And pretty soon the house will just be a pile on the... That's what happens. Everything decays. If you aren't exercising your muscles, they atrophy and you will decay. Everything is in a state of decay and in caught up in the entropy field. And the only thing that stops entropy from taking over all systems, all physical processes in the universe is oppositional force, fighting against it, raging against it. Now I'm going to fucking dust the house. Even though it's going to be dusty tomorrow, we're dusting it today. And I'm going to keep the roof up, and I'm going to drive my car. You just leave your car sit. Your car sit. Don't get in your car for 8 months. It will not turn on. And then it won't drive. And if it probably have all shit seized up. So you drive your car, you go to the gym, you fix your roof. You have to fight against the entropy field in all ways. And in music and in art and in society and in so many ways, in interpersonal communication, we are definitely at a period in time where the entropy field is rapidly increasing and consuming everything in its path. That's a fact. And interestingly enough, as musicians and as artists, to whatever degree we identify ourselves that way, some of us here are just hobbyists, some of us here are dedicated to it as lives. We are actually one of the people traditionally on the front lines of fighting the entropy field in society. Art has always been one of the places where, in all of its forms, where we expose truths that people are entropically getting, afraid to look at, where we challenge ideas that challenge complacency. I'm thinking about which piece was it? Help me. Which piece was it where the people were rioting in the streets? Was that the Rite of Spring in Paris? Was that one, or was it which one was it? I mean, people were rioting in in the streets hearing that piece. That's why I remember that piece, because it was significant, because it challenged people. Its fight against entropy was complacency and homogenization in music. And you know, and that's what art does. So in some ways, all of us have opportunities in what we do to make a significant contribution, just by virtue of what we do. But all of that is assuming that that's what our goal is, and we are looking for truth in ourselves and through our work. Some people, you know, are real of the mind. They're just like, you know, I don't want to make the world a better place, man. I don't want to change anything. I don't want to give. I just want to make some money and pay my bills and just like play music. And that's totally and perfectly cool. There's no downside to that. But you know, one of these DJs that I've been doing this work for the last 3 weeks, I guarantee is going to take film work away from some of us. You know, and we've talked in the master classes before about the fact that film work, the quality is not going up, it's going down. It's entropy. It's getting weaker. When I did my session on the race a couple of years ago now, was it a couple of years? You know, and I had the musicians come to me and say to me, look, I hate to tell you this, but we don't play stuff this challenging anymore. We're soft, is essentially what he was saying. You know, lots of these people don't play in the symphonies outside of these sessions anymore like they used to, so they were staying sharp on the hard material and used to playing live and playing together. We've been playing simple materials and striping them, and that's what's happened. That's entropy. That's just, you know, that's just getting softer. You know, it's like from Apocalypse Now. And so that's happening across just about everything. It's happening across communication, and it's happening to truth. We don't live in a world of truth anymore, which makes our challenging of truths that much more of a call to action, and that much more of a noble pursuit, and that much more of a place to get inspiration from as we're trying to think about what our lives are about. What are we doing with our lives? Where's our work coming from? You know, if it's always just about, well, the client wants 4 minutes of action, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But in the end, I think that there's something very, very powerful to be mined personally and artistically from the idea that, well, you know, who's championing, who's writing a piece right now that's about the divide in this country? I don't know anybody. I mean, a musical piece. Do you know that? Because that's what music. That was one of the things we did. Is Louis C.K. the only guy left, and you know, and he's in comedy, who can talk about stuff? Is that what? It's just comedians are the only ones left who can address stuff that gets really to the heart of things? Because it used to be part of our job as dramatists and as musicians and as artists, and for me. People write me all the time about these classes, and they say, you know, I get the real impression that you're telling it like it is, like you see it, and it's true. Damn right, because there's hardly any truth anywhere ever anymore. Everything we see is photoshopped, which is bullshit, and every commercial that's on, it's just one lie after another with all the truth disclaimers this big on the bottom of the screen. I know because I do them for a living. You know, results may vary, results not typical, dramatization, some restrictions apply, do not attempt. You know, all that's where all the truth is. Everything we just showed you is a lie. All of that, with all of the, you know, what are we at? 75% of the people no longer trust the shit sacks in Washington. Well, that's good, because that's all bull crap. And most of us work in one capacity or another for a corporation that lies about we care, but then they won't lose a penny in profit to change out the brakes, and 5,000 people die in car crashes. We're used to that. And 3 billion people sitting on their cell phones, me included, with little glowing rectangles, typing out LOL with totally stoned faces. We are drowning in bullshit. Drowning in bullshit. And truth can't be spoken. Somebody's going to call you a racist. Somebody's going to say that you're insensitive. Somebody's going to try to get you fired for that or whatever. So we obfuscate the truth. We hide behind political correctness. We hide behind, you know, euphemisms. We do all this, everything to crush truth. All of these things are calls to action for people like us. A person who's just trying to get through the day at the bank, clock in, clock out, don't get called a racist and get fired. That's just not who we are, most of us. For those of us who are hobbyists or whatever, great, I mean, it doesn't matter. But those of us who've chosen a life, there's something that comes along with that. And I think that it's one of the things for us to consider, that now is more time than certainly in the 40 years that I've been alive, where truth, where some real challenging things need to be addressed and said, actively pushed, and the entropy field fought against, because I think we're drowning in it. And that's something that it's been on my mind a lot, because I keep coming across shittier and shittier work, and then I've got guys like you who are writing me saying, I want to get better. And I asked in the last master class, I actually said, you know, what? I don't know why you're taking this class. What are you doing it for? And I actually got a lot of interesting and profound answers on the other side of that about why they were doing it. And that got me actually thinking about this, that on some level, you know, some of what keeps us working hard in a world that's told us we don't have to is that internal sense of responsibility to ourselves and pride in what we do, and being part of the legacy of artists and musicians that have been around since humans first came out of the caves. Look, did I get an answer on who was rioting there? Was that who was it? Let's say it was Stravinsky. I don't know. Whoever it was, when they're done with their piece, they handed the baton to all of us and said, "No, what are you going to do?" I had people running around in the streets because the music went places that people hadn't gone, and challenged things that people were afraid to look at, and we needed it and we wanted it, and so it's been embraced. What are we doing? And I as a musician, you know, I feel like all that's left is, do we have a job or not? Did we get a gig or not? Are we going to get a paycheck for writing some music or not? And look, that you can't live without that. But to excel, to really be great, we have to have a better reason than that. We just, because it won't last. That won't keep you going. So so that was one of the things that I just been thinking about, the fact that you know, that if we're not improving our skills, nobody is, and it's going to disappear, because that's what entropy does. It eats everything in its path, and then it eats the people that unleash it. That's how it works, and that's why there are skills and abilities that disappear and don't come back, because then you lose a connection to it. I mean, what is it? I saw this thing recently. They found some boats, Viking boats from fuck Lord knows how long ago, and they were made better than anything we could ever make today, you know, by wood, and we're not even sure how they did it. It's like you look at them and it's like, that shouldn't work. Yeah, they're gone, and the knowledge, you don't need them boats, and that went away, and we lost a connection to it. And now all we can do is marvel at it. And I pulled into a restaurant the other night, and there was it was like a 60s Chevy Bel Air, a sky blue Chevy Bel Air, sitting in the parking lot. Amongst all of these, you know how all of our cars now are kind of rectangles, but a little rounded? They're all exactly the same. There's just this whole sea, and then there was this car. It looked the sexiest thing. I don't even really have a thing for those vintage cars. It looked so sexy. It looked so bold. It was like, you know, at the end of your paycheck, that would have been worth it. And it was just another thing that occurred to me, you know, that, well, those things aren't really coming back unless you go to a car show, in which case you see something really cool that they never, ever, ever, ever build. If they built one car that's at a car show, just like when you go and you see it, if they just said, you can order this tomorrow, they do, but they never do that. Rite of Spring, 1913, yeah. So, I mean, you know, again, you know, I don't want to overstate the matter in terms of, you know, like, you know, what we're doing, but I can tell you that that one of the places that I get my inspiration from in everything that I do artistically is by trying to get more truth in my life. You know, That's how this goes from an abstract thing that I'm just blathering about to practical, real work. Because here I live in Hollywood, and here I work in Hollywood where there's no truth allowed of any kind. One of the very first pieces of advice I got, which is fantastic, is never say any bad thing about anybody or any piece or anything ever. Have no opinion about anything. So that is not only a good piece of advice. If you want to work in Hollywood, that's a commandment. Just don't, because it's too small and incestuous a town, it'll come back to bite you. Have no opinions. And then you're guaranteed not to have said the wrong thing about the wrong person who knows the truth, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that piece of advice is also mutually exclusive with truth and representative, and that's why things don't get better, they get worse. And I'll tell you something, I got contacted a couple of times over the last few months while I was doing these classes by people who are powerful in the business who said, you can't be doing this. You can't be bad-mouthing the town, and you can't be, people are gonna stop hiring you. That might be true. In fact, it probably is true. But actually, it turns out I'm busier than ever, so maybe that's not true. But certainly with a more selective group of people. But the point is that for me, that's a choice. Do I just want to be part of all that bullshit, or do I want to? No, this is what I actually think. Damn it, this is what I actually feel, and this is the music that I like. I like this chord. I like this sound. I like these instruments. Fuck you. This is what I like. That's the truth. And with so little truth, that in itself, the freedom from giving a fuck about that, brings a lot of music for me. A lot of music happens when I'm not afraid of what it's going to say or what somebody's going to think about it in terms of it being popular. And in fact, the music comes easier and the work comes easier because there's lots of people there's an audience for everything that you want to do. And if work in a certain place, don't get hung up on Hollywood. Don't get hung up on that thing. Don't get hung up on that. You're running toward a star whose light burned out 1,000 years ago, I'm telling you. And it'll never be the way you think it is. It might be good, it might be interesting, it might be fun and challenging, you might learn all kinds of things and have no regrets. But your life and your path will take directions you are not planning, because it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. Life will throw you a curve no matter how much you think you got to figure it out. So for me, a piece of advice that I'm taking and I'm embodying and I'm passing to my son and I'm talking about tonight is look for more truth in your life. Look for more truth in your opinions and what they say, and challenge the entropy of the lack of all that, because it's actually betraying the art and the music that you love, and it's betraying your opportunities to make the kind of impacts and differences with your life and through your work that some of our most revered composers or artists or painters or philosophers or generals or whatever have made. That's just the fact of it. And nowhere will you find that entropy field more alive and all-consuming than in Hollywood. So again, there's a philosophical underpinning to this with a practical reality, which is it helps free your music. It just does, because that's the thing about truth. It will out. But you can keep it down a long time. And even the thought process of, what do I want to say through my music, is something that some of us don't do a lot of anymore, and that's supposed to be our first thought. I got a question from somebody, which was, I haven't listened yet, boys, which was, how, I'm trying to think about the way they phrased it. Well, I'll get onto that. It's questions about life, about how do you make a life, or like how often do you practice. The question was, about what do you do with your day? How do you break it up in the morning and all that? And I said to them two things. I said, first of all, don't have a schedule. I think if you're the kind of person who needs a rigid schedule, you're probably not an artist. And that's not a fuck you. That's just like, artists we have a little bit of we're not quite, we like the point, which we don't realize it's been 8 hours. We like that, I think. I think most artists like that, to lose themselves, and then the reality becomes most successful artists anyway, They actually embrace and enjoy detaching from schedules and clocks and alarms and reality and responsibility. So I said that, but I said the other thing is, look, you know, music is a language. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's not a metaphorical. It's not a simile. It's literally a language. Its purpose is to carry an idea from one to another. And it has a vocabulary, and a vocabulary that we agree on. Otherwise, people can't understand each other. It's a language, and we have to focus on what we want to say. And no matter how flowery your rhetoric, no matter how great your vocabulary, if you don't have anything interesting to say, nobody's going to listen to you. And you're not going to have anything interesting to say if you don't live. So don't spend all your life practicing and doing theory. Go outside and live. And do shit that people who have square jobs and don't have the opportunity to do, go do stuff that they can't do. So you can tell them they can live vicariously through your music. You know, do you think that it's a complete and total coincidence that so many great artists or influential artists were fucking nuts? They were crazy. They had weird, insane lives, and rock and roll stars are, you know, like, think about what their life is like. You know, I've been to jail 5 times. I'm not proud of that. Not for very long, but, you know, I've been arrested in a cop car and in a jail cell 5 times in my life. Now, I guarantee you, even though that's too many for a responsible adult, there's just some life experience in there that most people, hopefully, don't have. But all of that gets to go in the music, and all of that gives the music something that people get from it that they don't get anywhere else. So, so live and challenge yourself. Be your music. This is a very Artur philosophy, but there's a reason that it has stood the test of time. It's because it works. And when we dissolve all this stuff into just the job, just the gig, just the paycheck, just the client asked for this and I asked for X, I delivered X, I wanted to do Y, but the focus group knocked it down. When that's all that becomes it, then we might as well be working at the bank. And then when you're scratching your head, I don't know what the fuck to do, and everything sounds the same and all that, that's why. But where are you digging this up from? Where is this? What's the fucking point? What's the point? So we just happen to be at a point where in society and in things where there's a real point. The world needs us at this point. That's really, really true. And we will be most empowered to say things that are not being said and people want said, the more, the greater our depth and range of talent. And the more fearlessly we pursue the truths of who we are and what we want to say. So again, all of these things to me, these are with me every single time that I sit down at a piano, every time I talk to a client, every time I work on a job, every time I think about what I'm doing with my life, why I'm struggling with, I mean, somebody was asking me, I saw somebody was asking about what do you do to have job security in music? You don't. Ever, never, zero, none. There is no such thing. If that's interesting to you, you're not going to make it, because you won't have that. What you'll learn to do is squirrel away during the fat times a little bit, knowing that there'll be 6 months without something. But you'll never, it's just not how it works. So knowing what we're doing all that for, knowing why we're enduring that is, it's important. It helps fuel our music, it helps inspire us, and it helps add a little bit of purpose and nobility to where it belongs, to a life that is otherwise, kind of looked at as like like either a thing that anybody can do, because they pretty much can now, or a thing that it's like, ooh, yeah, well, I hope my son becomes a doctor. We don't need to be either pitied nor mocked. But we have a hard argument against that if we don't really have anything to say, and if we're afraid to put it out there in ourselves. So I mean, again, it's just one of those things. I don't think anywhere in my life anybody's talked about the nobility of being an artist, but there really is some, and I'm perfectly happy to mine some of the historical pride in that field to get me through the hard times. Just think, you know what? Somebody's got to write this music. What are you going to do? Just turn it over to one of these DJs? Then it's all going to be shit. Sometimes that's bad work is as motivating as good work. Have you ever seen something really bad and you just think, damn it, I got to do better than that? Come on. We'll take it from wherever we get it. So, yeah, job security is your ability to leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. I said this exact thing to my 3.5-year-old son. I just said, you don't kill, you don't hunt, you don't eat. I say stuff like that to him without context, just to see what his little brain does with it. His brain got that completely. I saw it work around for a minute. But, there's got to be some jungle in there somewhere, and it is that simple. So, you have to watch out for yourself and for what your life is going to stand for. And we are ultimately what we leave behind. Great works of art, healthy, productive children, the inspirations and reflections in our wake that other people take of it. You never know, man. Somebody heard your music somewhere, I guarantee, and you don't know who they are, and you'll never know who they are, and your music had some impact in their lives, and you'll never know about it, but you did it anyway. That's just the truth, especially today. Our music goes out all over the world, and you should get a tracker on your website. I have one. I use Stat Counter. And I see the people come to a website, and I see what they download, and I see how long they listen and what they click on, and they're from countries I'll never be to. They're people I will never meet. I'll never know their names, and sometimes I see them come back and back and back. And I just think that's a fucking amazing thing. I don't know who that person is, and somewhere that person is reaching out for some piece of music that I almost didn't put online because I thought it was a piece of shit. That needs to be our payday as much as anything else, because honestly that makes us feel better, and that makes me want to write music. That makes me want to write music. Getting through Disney's 500 levels of approval, it gives me a different kind of satisfaction. It gives me kind of a cynical dissatisfaction. But some random click from Botswana, downloading some little piece, 6 times a month, that person's only doing it for them. That somehow the music went all the way across the world and made a difference. And I'll never know who they are. And they don't really care who I am. The music is doing its job. That makes me want to sit down and write way more than a paycheck. So, right. But there's no, would you say, there's no guarantees you'll find a critter outside that cave. That's true. You might have to hunt long and far. What happened to the old, remember back, hundreds of years ago, I've gone to seek my fortune elsewhere. I tried here at home. There was no meat here at home, so I boarded a ship for the New World to seek my fortune elsewhere. Yeah, just keep going. But in all those cases, the mission was a lot clearer than than simply consuming an acquisition of plastic shit made in China that we all secretly feel guilty about unless we're sociopaths, because we know that it's slave labor, that they got to hang nets on the buildings because the Chinese people are throwing themselves to their deaths rather than have to go to work another day. We're not disconnected from that. We just don't give a fuck. That's just the truth. That's also the truth. Yeah, I know, but then I get to send this little Snapchat to my friend, so fuck the Chinese. That's how we feel. And that has got to have some sort of erosive quality on our interpersonal connection. So maybe we should write some music just to balance that out. 3 dead Chinese people, but this is a great cue. Maybe that works out like that. We'll find out when it's all over. Okay, Stat Counter was the name of the tracker, which leads me to relationships. I've been married and divorced twice now, and for totally different reasons. Actually, the second one, we don't talk about it because we have a kid, and that's just how it is. But the first one was way more dramatic, because the first one was the one in which I learned about my relationship on the priority scheme as my work. I worked all the time, and she was not the kind of girl who wanted a guy who worked all the time. She thought she could make it work, but it just didn't work. And And I got resentful of her because she was always getting on my case about working. She was also not in the business. So one thing in terms of relationships is I will say this, is I will say, if I don't know how to make them last, I can tell you what doesn't work. And I can tell you that it is very difficult to make people who don't do what we do in any kind of creative or artistic capacity ever understand what we do. And I would have to say that if I had to construct a relationship, it would absolutely never be between an artist and a non-artist. That has its own dynamics when you have two crazy people and no stable people. That was my idea, was I get the girl for whom, like she was normal, and then I could be all crazy and we would balance each other. In my mind, it made so much sense. But it didn't work out that way. It was like, she's like, you're a fucking crazy person and you're never here. And but baby, it's a calling. I can't not work. That's the inspiration. She's like, and she left. That's how that went. And she should have. It was not right. But this is to me is a very, very important point, especially if you want to be able to go those long stretches in those places, those intensely personal and exposed places. It's not a job. We don't clock in and clock out. It just doesn't work like that. I think it becomes very important for us to take the times when we're not on the clock, especially, to really live and really be there for our partner 110% and get our experiences and truly clock out so that you don't become just a work machine. But I think that it's very difficult on people if they don't know what it's like to have that fever and that sense of purpose and that sense of, this is, like that sense of calling. It's a little flowery, but that's the essence of it. My second wife, she was an actress, is an actress, and she understood all that. So we never had any kind of issue with like that. We can all still be very difficult people to get along with. That just isn't, for whatever. But that's also a choice. John Williams was totally alienated from his family. That's where he was very clear about what his priorities were, and we know where all that energy went. So you can choose to do it any way that you want to, but I think truth is being real about those sorts of consequences and those sorts of choices. So. Wait, what was this one? I haven't been able to make time for consistent relationships to start in this business. It's very, very difficult. I thought it made sense up until 30 seconds ago. What do you mean? You explain. I've got the greatest wife ever regarded with. You know what? I'm so glad. That makes me so happy. Because the truth is, there's only one commandment in the universe, and that is, thou shalt not waste. There are no other commandments or laws or rules. Everything's a variation of that. If it isn't absolutely necessary, nature doesn't have it. And if the creature doesn't need its tail anymore, it gets out of there. Vestigial, it's out. If it needs spots, it gets spots. We need a flood, we get a flood. It's a whole thing is all, that's how it works. And, and we've got these relationships are always better when we have both the male and the female dynamic, whether that's being fulfilled by two females or two males or however that works. There's always a male and a female dynamic. We're different creatures. Equal, we're not the same. So when you have that other half that is complementing and keeping you in check and making you want to build yourself up and making you want to be a better artist and a better person all the time and constantly elevating, that's perfect. That's the goal. Very hard to find. So I was already married before I really hit the ground running with my writing career. That's yeah, she was on Fallon. Yeah, my ex was on Fallon the other night. She was looking good there. So this is great. So Rosie 1 and 2, right? Yeah, she's a nurse. I understand. It's just one of those things. I think that's another place that truth needs its day, is when you're being truthful to yourself and to your partner about what you can give and what you really want and what you need. And let's make no bones. I have no judgments about what you choose, but the theme here is that ultimately Be very clear, be true about what you're choosing. Know why you're doing it and go boldly, whether it's popular with other people or society. Who's going to judge you now? Who's got anything to say? Everybody's, I think it's 70-some% of us are on pharmaceutical drugs just to get through the fucking day. So all the stuff that we've heard about for the last 20, 30 years about sensitivity and, and consideration and consciousness and awareness and, I'm raising awareness and we're raising consciousness and we're watching out for the planet and we're saving this and we're empowering. Yeah, so we end up with, right now, people are mostly miserable. They don't believe in any system or government. They are on pharmaceutical drugs to get through the day. I'd say most of that didn't work. So how about some truth instead of just, corporate mission statements? Truth in our relationships, truth in life, truth through our art, deliberately. I think that will make us better musicians. It certainly provides me with a lot more music, and it's hard writing music. So anywhere that music shows up, I'll tell you about it. And and sometimes that's just it. Sometimes I sit down and I write an 80s tune. You know why? Because I grew up in the fucking 80s and I like that stuff. So, okay, I've been talking for a long time. Let's scroll down here. Well, you know what? I heard that some people were sending stuff to Hotmail. I like that as a plan. So I'm going to piss everybody off who's already not done this and send me the link on Hotmail. And we will go right now and begin listening and critiquing some work and see if we can't make somebody better, make us all better tonight. I actually really enjoy doing the critiques because it doesn't take a lot, and and plus I know that first listening is always that's always the one. That first listening. The last time you ever hear something for the first time. Okay, I will not. I think just to not rub it in, unless you specifically ask for this, I will not say who it's from. We'll just simply listen down and see what we got. All right, so let's do piece number 1 here. Can anybody tell me where 1 is? Am I the only one who has no idea where 1 is? I'm 16 seconds into this piece and I don't know where 1 is. This is something I used to have a real problem with. I struggled with this for the longest time, especially as a drummer, as I way overestimated people's ability to inherently feel the time signature. And as a drummer, I used to like shit that was all fucked up and backwards and upside down and you didn't know it until you were 10 measures into the piece. I used to like that. I still do. But most people, that just pisses them off. I don't know where 1 is, and that's never a good way to start. Let's listen and see if we can catch up. This is almost feeling random to me. All those chords are very, very pretty. They hit all my favorite buttons, but I can't lock in. I am not clear about where we are, and the hook, whatever your is, has not hit me, whether it's an intervallic or melodic or rhythmic idea, which is a shame because there's a lot of pretty in there. feel it. It's frustrating. And what's this? I was expecting whatever that was to be echoed by the cellos or something so that I could know for sure that was the idea. I almost have something here. I can almost feel it. But again, you know what we have? I see this all the time. Lots of pretty, no structure. No structure. Don't get confused. There's a lot of cues in films that feel like this, but still have what this does not have. We're lacking is the orienting structure, the pattern establishment. Remember, you need two of something to make a pattern, and the brain, by the way our brains work, whatever the first thing you hear is one. And people will start scanning for rhythm and pulse. Their brains will do that. They never accept, sorry mom, they never accept hanging out. The brains don't do that. In fact, this is something, when you have strings, if you don't give them anything, people will subconsciously start using the vibrato. They'll grab onto that for the pulse. They'll do anything to try to figure out where the pulse is. So I listened to this a couple of times and I couldn't get it. So I would have to say that this idea definitely needs focusing on an idea here. I'm looking for something here. I'm looking for something. This is a background cue from Back to the Future, which is nonetheless driving this shit home. Okay, so don't think that just because something's a background cue that it won't have structure. It needs structure. There was another cue here somewhere that I was looking for that reminded me of that. From Back to the Future, which had the same sort of thing. It was very, 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 very clear on establishing the idea. Hear that? Could my idea, here's the echo. Two of something to make a pattern. Even though it's going to move on, that is a complete idea, and it's actually connected to this. Boys, don't overthink this stuff. Girls too. I don't want to, By the way, well, no. Okay. So the issue here is that I just can't lock into what you're doing here, even though a lot of that stuff is super pretty. Also, I'm hearing like let's see. There's a harmonic. Is that what you're doing? Because the harmonic sounds like that. Anyway, so what you need to be doing here is making the rhythm and the pulse of this idea clearer. And when you do that sort of thing without a pulse, where you hold on and it's not intervallically or scale-wise clear, if you do a melody that goes, mean, you can hear it, we can't. We can't feel it. So simplify and have two of something. Without another thing said, that will help make that better. Yes, it's mverta3@hotmail.com. mverta3@hotmail.com. So, but other stuff in that, some very, very pretty stuff in there. Yeah, liked it. But that definitely needs to be, you got to start there because it's over before everything else after that is just pretty noise. And I'm glad that we're getting to some pretty noise, but what we really want, all right, let me just see here. Okay, let's see the next one here. Okay. I'm hearing a theme tonight. I'm just going to turn this up a little bit. Let's try again. Okay. Not crazy about the idea, but very happy. Pick it up a little bit. I've lost it. Okay, this I hear all the time. First of all, I lost it there. So let's just talk about it. First of all, well, good. We had establishment of an idea. I don't know that was the one yet. By the way, don't beat yourself up about that. Everybody admits that coming up with the good, that's the hard part. I mean, people struggle with that forever. I don't know how inherently strong that idea it was, but I was happy to know where it was. Now, at 50 seconds, you got completely bored of what you wanted to do and have now freaked out. And this I've been getting all week. You guys, there's nothing wrong with AA. Give me some AABA. I'm going to make a rule. Send me a piece. It's AABA, and then you can go fucking crazy with all this stuff. Because otherwise, this is like a different piece. What does this have to do with where we were? Well, it's for a film cue. No, it isn't. I've never seen this film, and even if it was for film, this is the problem with film scores. It should still be one cohesive piece. When a Goldsmith does it or a Silvestri does it, it's not just random and we're off to some completely other thing. It's never that. It seems like that, but the reason it works is because it isn't that. It's always cohesive and connected. Yeah, this piece is suffering from 8,000 ideas syndrome. And they don't, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah, you're all over the map here. And you're not giving none of these ideas can even take root before you're onto something else. And what you're doing here, okay, harmonically and tonally, these chords and this progression, this is not in the same style as where you've been 30 seconds before. And another thing before, and this is another thing I talk about a lot, is finding the harmonic vocabulary of the piece or the cues and sticking to it. This kind of thing happens where we look at things that we like from 10 different scores and put them all in one piece. Oh, I like this moment, and I like this moment, and I like that, and I've been guilty of this in my day too. But this is, we don't know. If I can't tell anything about where you're going to be in the next 10 seconds, then you are not leading me. That's not a leader. A leader keeps you, connected, so that you're comfortable going where you're going. These just feel like right hooks, and stylistically, they're not connected to each other. Like I said, there's nothing in common with this. Nothing. I'm even listening for rhythm stuff that you've done the same. You're like in triplets here. So, yeah. Okay, so the good news about this is that you have a lot of ideas. Yay. Good. We like that. You have too many ideas. And you need to let them breathe. Let each one of them be its own thing, and that's the discipline. This is the long form discipline, and it's what separates the women from the girls. Is anybody can go, okay, well that's the end of that idea, so on to the next idea, and that's what we're getting a lot of today. Being able to take that one simple intervallic idea or melodic idea or thematic idea or rhythmic idea and say, no, here it is. We're just gonna, I can do it like this, 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 I can do this for 10 minutes. That's the long form skill. That's what a symphony is. So because otherwise what this becomes is chaos. And it doesn't matter that any one of these individual moments might be perfectly cool or well deftly handled. And I like your French horn sound there too. What is that? But I can't, it really is a litmus test that at some point you should be able to stop a listener who's not a musician and just say, hum what you just heard. Then we failed. Like I said, I'm encouraged by the plethora of colors and ideas. Sometimes this happens when you write slowly, when it takes you too long to get an idea out, because then your perception of it was that any one of these 4 bars was actually 8 hours long. So no wonder you're ready for another thing. Okay, what is this doing? This is another piece. Let's just listen to this a moment. I'm not sure what your doubling there was. I think it was Glock or Celeste, but in that doubling it sounds like a steel drum. Always does, be careful. Again, you'd have to earn this kind of ending. You'd have to earn this sort of, to have gone someplace where you had action and in less than 3 minutes be in some sort of reverent, you'd have to have earned that. And you're certainly never going to get there if it isn't one cohesive idea that's being returned to and revered or having a sort of remembrance, for. So I would take one of these ideas that you like the most, and I saw a quote here, "Work it to death." That's a good quote. Yeah, work it to death, and be happy that you have that many ideas, because some people that they don't have that. But this is just, it's almost chaos. I can't follow it. Okay. Simplify, easy. Stop getting bored of your own work. People aren't bored. Well, you're bored. And this is part of why almost everything that I teach is about being faster, so that it helps to cut down on the physical amount of time that you spend with these ideas, which compels all of us, me too, I used to go through this all the time, way over writing. Okay? Slow down. Easy, relax. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Let's move this one over. Good, pattern. I'm with it. We're with it. Ooh, loved a stronger melody rather than just moving chords. If you had just flipped that so that it turned out that what we were sort of leaning on was, as the melody, was simply just the arpeggiating understatement for a really strong moving melody, which you could have done, I think that would have been super, super sexy. Missed opportunity. Because right now what you have are pretty chords that are still, what you have right now really are two backing elements and no melody. We were okay with the first thing being what it was, but when you did those chords, our brains sort of go, oh, okay, they're the background, and that other thing isn't quite melodic. So I would have loved to hear strings and what's what I thought you were going to do. I thought you were going to do strings and horns on a clear melody, and then all of the piano stuff would have been the arpeggiated background. Dramatically, way more satisfying. And by the way, just go do that because you totally have it in here. Okay, this is wide open because you've stuck to very simple chords, and that's great. But now, because you have such simple chord progressions, whatever you have this, you have the simpler, the more options and opportunities that you have for a strong melody thing. So I would just go right back and find this piece's melody without changing another thing about it, so that when you get to that build, you get to turn the rolls upside down. That would be an excellent way to round out this piece. And that's a fun trick for listeners. Listeners like that. Oh, it's the one thing, but it's an end credits thing. That's fine, doesn't matter, doesn't mean anything. In fact, that's even more imperative, because you know what people do? They fucking leave. That's one thing I don't do. I sit for the goddamn credits. All of them. You know, most of those people don't get the $1 million. They don't get to be in the fucking magazines. All they ever get is like about 30 seconds. That's all they ever get, the thank you. They don't get paid that huge money. Sit there, say thank you, will you? So end credits or not, keep them in the seats with a great piece. Did you ever hear the end title of Star Wars? It's one of the best pieces so in there. Yeah, it's real. I mean, I like. There's so much about that. It's right there. It's right there. Except give us the melody you set us up for. Go in there. Do it. It's right in there. And the simpler, the more options you should be able to have to do that. That should be Tears. That's a Tears piece. Okay. And yeah, that's cool. So and everything about it we're even talking about because you drew us right in. You drew us right in with a pattern. And he's stuck to it, which I like. It's ballsy and appropriate. All right, let's go to the next one here. So mverta3@hotmail.com. Let's hear this one. It's very encouraging. Okay. You wrote something, but I'm not going to read that. I don't want to hear your disclaimer. We know what to lock in on. You like that? Okay. Now you lost me. First of all, let's touch just mix wise. Just steal. Look, do this in your orchestrations and thus in your virtual orchestrations. When you start an idea like this, okay, where you've got that right in front, you're going to bring in something over here. Drop the volume of that. Cut the number of players in half. Change their dynamic. because it no longer needs to be that present for us to have to stay with it. And all it's doing right now in the mix and for focus is it is stealing. We want to move their attention to the strings, but it's never that. In pop music, a mix never does that. The riff that starts the cue, the second the next thing comes in, that riff drops. You don't really notice it because your brain is going to the next element, but you don't miss it because it's still there. Okay? And so that would help us move toward this melody. Yeah, I'm not sure. We're waiting. You've set up that melody. Give us that thing twice. Give it to us twice so we can say, oh, that's what this thing is about. And again, do it again right here. It should be right here. A note down. One. And now, so because this is positioned totally differently and has nothing in common with the piece before us, this might work later, but right now it's disorienting. Again, at least 3 ideas here, but no through line. Yeah, so you hate doing anything more than you're getting bored of your own ideas. I haven't gotten bored. I could not sing you any of those right now. And I have some musical ability. Don't be afraid of it. Pick one of those that you think is the strongest one and hammer it home. Hammer it home. Make it. Let the comment be, will you find something else to fucking say? That's a good comment. Then you have truly run it into the ground. Right now, you just keep changing. You keep changing the lines. Like you can't figure out which one of these you like. And you know you're underpinning. Yeah, same thing. You're all these ideas don't have anything to do with each other, and you have a strong foundation there underneath that, which we've now fully taken for granted. In fact, we're real close to wanting you to do something else. Empty it out, change it out, move it around. It's getting a little Zimmery in there. So not in a bad way, but I mean just like let's move it on. But I think part of the reason my brain is going there is because I can't sing you this. So pick one of those and give it to us at least twice. Because otherwise what I'll do is I'll pull up iTunes and I'll play you 900 billion versions of all the famous composers you love doing it. So rather than do that, I'm just going to tell you, I like the establishment of the rhythm right up top, but it's the same thing. And again, I'm not picking on you. I used to do this. We all do this. We tire of our ideas way, way, way too early. We're just like, well, I got to do something else now. No, what you just experienced over 4 hours sitting in front of your workstation was 10 seconds for me. So slow down, or get faster. That's what I did. That's why I got faster, because I hate my own work. so I wouldn't get anything done. All right. Let's see. We got another piece here. I do too, Christian. I get bored of my stuff and hate it, so I'm with you. I'm with you. You better do that again. God damn it. All right, then you better do that again. Come on! What's wrong with you? Gotta get that, gotta pick it there. If it's an 8-bar phrase, then do it again. Don't change it yet. I don't know it yet. 2. then you can go places with it. Also, you know, you change colors and then you seem like you made a mistake. Like you started with this nice reedy color. Is that an oboe? Guess so. And then you're like, let's go to clarinet. And we're like, yeah, we like this whiter color. And then you're like, actually, fuck that, I'm going back to the reeds. What's wrong with clarinet? Stick with it. So, oh, I see what you're doing there. It's a little random. Without picture to motivate something like that, find a version of that that's in flavor. Let's get the priorities clear. First of all, let's really clarify the main idea. You know, this is what I've been getting in pieces. It's the same thing. You guys are doing the same thing. Just relax. I guarantee you, none of your guys that you're listening to don't do this. They'll do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again to get these ideas to go home, so that they can earn those little changes and earn those motivations. This, I think you're going a little far afield with the wacky over here, because you had set up something very pastoral and pretty, and you can do something, you know, simply without having to break it and do sort of, you know, stalling type stuff. Just simply, you know, letting a thing where you're normally having a pretty something, just to be able to do just one of those chords up there, you know, well, or whatever it is. You could do a bunch of them, you know. Just make the unusual something in the chord, so that you've established that, rather than have to break your melody and break your arpeggiation, which is like, here's a rule. If you change things, try to change one thing. When you have a pattern established, if you're doing the melody, change the rhythm of the melody or the notes. Don't do both at the same time. Go it in steps, and certainly don't change the rhythm and the notes of the melody and drop what's going on underneath it. Try to make one change at a time, because we can't follow that otherwise. And I think it starts to get a little like, what was that? It wasn't really connected. You know, and this is not fun. This is fun for us, because it's like, it's like that thing. Williams. Oh, Jedi. Yeah, we like all that. That's good for us. That's not good for a listener. That's just going to piss people off. In terms of a, you know, it's real legit sounding. So it's good to know that you can do that. That's good. Just like that. And by the way, that is an exercise. Do a day of those. Just like, can I do that thing from Jedi? Yeah, I can do that. That's good to do those. But, you know, even in this kind of piece where you're trying to do a demo, I've done demos like this before, where you are trying to showcase the range of the instruments. Don't forget that people listening to demos are no different than anybody else. You know, if you draw them in, they'll listen. And when this stuff when they don't know how they ended up where they are and they feel disoriented, they're more tempted to click off. That's the time spent listening goes down. So, you know, I think it's good to have practiced this, but I don't think this is not where you started. This is not where you were a minute ago. And there's no indication of it. There's no even, like, you didn't even have, if you'd been doing something real pretty, you know, and you've got something in your melody that's going, whatever, you know, you're like, oh, this is sort of kind of different. Then when if it's just somewhere decorated in your melody to some little thing that's like, oh, that's kind of different, well then this will have been more in its harmonic language, more in its harmonic vocabulary. That's the consistent style, which is important. If you're doing a lot of, you know, if you're making it very clear that you're doing 1, 4, 5 chords, and you go with this for 2.5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're like, It's like, what's that? It's not in the harmonic language of what you've established. And if you want this to be quirky, sounds like something this is a little close to stuff. Again, I'll perfectly find that these are all not connected. This is for you. I mean, a lot of us are inherently, intrinsically attracted to what this is. I love this sort of thing, these cues that go all over the place and seem to just, but the quality to them, they're infinitely harder than not. Because in order to be able to have that flexibility and freedom, then they require that through line more than anything. That's why I learned to do it. Because otherwise, my shit it sounded like it, but it didn't feel like it because it wasn't connected. It was just like, what happened there? Well, that's where the trap sprung. People are just taking your word for it. And if you really go back and you listen to those sorts of cues, they never have that quality. They somehow make total sense, and you're sort of ready for what comes, and even when it's a surprise, it's not out. It doesn't feel like something just got poured on your piece. It's very hard. Made increasingly easy by the strength of the through line. Yeah, you can't just do that. That does not the Williams make. You can't just, anyway, back to the melody. There's a lot going on in there. In order to make that work, and as legit as the orchestration and structure is there, you have not learned to use it in context yet. It's just keep practicing them, but let's stay on that first idea to all of us. This is really what we need to stay focused on. So it's really 2 minutes 57 seconds before we were really connected back to that. Yeah, same thing. You are currently going through all of the Williams orchestrational conventions. It's great exercise, fantastic practice. Do that all day. But more important is the Williams structure. Harder, infinitely harder. This stuff you can crib pretty well. And this is, and having the structure down is that's what makes people sound like John Williams douchebags, is when it's random. So we don't want to do that. We want to stay focused on developing our ideas cohesively. And remember, this is the hardest part when I'm talking about doing. Otherwise, everybody would do it, and hardly anybody does it. And because of the entropy, hardly anybody can. So we're gonna tighten this up so that if we have nothing else, if we have not one damn thing else, we have a melody that every time somebody hears it, it's stuck in their fucking brain, and they're walking around all day and they don't even know where they heard it. That is what we're going to get. We're going to get that and nail that down so that if we decide not to do that, it's a choice. But that's the core skill. It is the core skill. That's the language. I said something, think about something. Remember, it's a language. If somebody talks to you and you're like, it's so profound, it's so amazing. And you said, I heard the most amazing speech today. I heard the Dalai Lama, and he talked about the universe. He talked about, well, what did he say? I don't know. I mean, it was just, I don't know. It was just the universe. Well, anything. I can't really. then that would not have been a successful communication. It's not. You can't take it with you. You can't absorb it and make it part of you. All you have is this sort of vaporous impression of it. It's nice, but it's not tangible. It's not solid. You can't now integrate that into part of the very definition of your life, which is what people want to do with your music. They want to integrate it and make it part of them and then share it with others. So we have got to give them the material to do that with. Okay? What face? I don't know what face I made. Stop. First of all, you shouldn't even be saying that because I hate being on camera. I'm doing this is how much I love you, is that I will be on camera. People know I'm a photophobe. There is hardly any photos of me, and I hate them because I just don't like being on camera, and which was difficult because I was married to a celebrity, and so there was always cameras. But I figured out that if I just looked at him evil enough, then they would take her. Anyway, so I don't know. Anyway. So on the positive side there, my friend, depending, I'll tell you, only you know how much you are directly looking at the score and orchestrations for the devices that you're using. If they're anywhere in the room at the time you're doing them, it's -5 to 10 points. You need to internalize them. I have a feeling they're closer than not. You need to internalize them. So keep working on them. That's just a thing for you. So that, when you're going into that sort of thing, you don't have to go, let's see, what was that? When you have an understanding of it, it goes in because how could you not have an understanding of it? It's like boiling water. It's like, do you need to boil water more than once before you know how to boil water? You don't have to look at the fucking recipe book again. Well, yeah, okay, boil water, pot, water, boil. It's the same kind of thing. You need to internalize it. But, pretty legit sounding, and your templates sound pretty good. I'm not so crazy about those reeds, but none of these reeds sound like real things. So, you can lift more weight but your form needs work. You're going to hurt yourself. So check your ego a little bit. Go to some lighter weights. That's sort of the general idea there. Yes. Yeah, Tom Petty. I love Tom Petty. I just love Tom Petty. Talk about just I know 4 chords and fuck you. And you I don't care what Tom Petty tune it is. If somebody's listening to Tom Petty and they pass you in the car, you'll be singing it. Running down a dream. You'll be doing that in the next 3 seconds. You can't help it. Fucking love Tom Petty. So any more? Come on, guys, if there's more. But we did hear the same thing in all of these pieces, which is not surprisingly the hardest thing, which is keeping a strong idea through. Don't listen. Ego check. Fine. Listen. I wish I had my older stuff. I mean, I'm not that I'm the greatest thing in the world, but I definitely have had an arc. The stuff I'm writing today is way better than it used to be, 20, 30 years ago. It's not even close. And I remember going through these exact processes, and I had a very, very difficult time writing melodies. And today, I went into writing melodies kicking and screaming. I like chords and I like chord progressions, and I didn't want to write melodies. Melodies were sort of a necessary evil. Whereas today, I actually feel the opposite of it. I really like to get a good, strong melody and work it and find it, because it's such instant gratification when you see somebody absent-mindedly. Did I tell you this is what I do? Is I play pieces around for people that I know aren't listening, like they're talking or they're vacuuming or something, and I play stuff. And if I catch them when they weren't meaning to, absorbing the melody, I know I've done something. And that's such a sexy thing to witness. And you know that you've gotten in there. And you know that, okay, this piece they can't even help it. They're not even trying. They're not focused on it. And it went in there, and now they don't even know where I did it, and I did it. It's great. So I really focus on the melodies now. So let's check. I'm looking at my spam. Let me just refresh a little bit here in case there's a. Okay. Oh wait, did some other ones come in here? Yes, some more came. Okay, let's see. Wow. Jeez. Okay. Good. Pieces came in. Well, we'll keep doing this. All right. Let's pull this one in. Wow. We just got a lot of pieces. Hey, open your big fucking mouth. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's hear this one. Good, good, right? We're with him. He did it twice even. We're clear. And it became the background for melody. Same problem as the other one. Oh, we got it. It's not that sexy an idea. I thought with the strings you were going to give me a melody now that turned that into the background. Don't bring in more backgrounds. When you have an idea that is chordal or arpeggiation is this, and its nature, then bring in a melody, okay? Because that's like a fucking magic trick for people. It's like Shyamalan. It's like it was one thing, but it's not. It's actually people love that. Okay, so go ahead and bring in a melody. But now you just got a string sound. And we didn't need a string sound, and we didn't need a pad. We were clear on what the chords were. This is what you're doing right at this moment is just that purely vertical thinking. Well, there's just more. Yeah, but how about different? How about move it on? And with something as clear as what you've set up, and I'm with you, and I like you, and I like everything about you, then do a melody with that. It's so simple. Let's go. Because otherwise it still becomes part of the introduction. And this is what a lot of these cues sound like today. They sound like the song that never started. And you know what I'll tell you? After you've done this twice, okay, good, fine. You need to go. You need to move this on. We needed to move on. Okay, that's just a quick because it's simple enough an idea that it also can overstay its welcome, and that's the point at which just simply layering instruments on top of it don't make the A minor to F any sexier. So here we are seeing a balance. We're seeing the point at which you've done my favorite two things. You've started to establish a thing, and I'm with you. And then at some point it started to overstay its welcome. So let's keep it moving. And you've established a precedent in terms of this motion, which is why it was so natural for me to go to the D minor. Whatever you wanted to do, you can keep going. This actually is the kind of idea that you could keep going and develop and move and modulate it. It's so simple that it becomes fun and part of the journey. So I would keep doing that. Yeah. So I mean that's the thing. Is again. Simplicity is a double-edged sword. It's what draws us in. It's also like, yeah, we heard that. So in this case, you've set yourself up for a perfect, continuing modulation. Just keep moving down, keep moving in the same intervallic range. Just from a minor third to so just keep doing that, but move it along, so that or bring in a melody after that couple of times through, because we're ready for it now. Okay, but that piece contained my mostest favoritist thing in the whole universe, which is Something I can lock onto. That made me immediately comfortable and happy. All right, let's try this one. I can't find them. There it is. A little fuzzy there. Not. Yes. You better do that melody again. Right now. Oh, it's Hans Zimmer. Oh, it's Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Super Hulk, Thor. Somebody's done. That's covered. That's been covered. There's just like a thing there. I can't quite figure out what. You need to make this clearer. If that is that dum ba-dum, if that's one, you need to really accent that. But I should tell you that's kind of unusual. It's kind of, people aren't going to expect that's what you did, and it just makes it feel like there's a hiccup in there. So again, we're not quite established. And again, if this is only the second time through, and then it's dum ba dum da da dum, if you want to answer it, but you've got to give us two of those things there. Because again, I could not. If you brought my son in here and said, "I'm going to punch your son if you can't tell me where the beat is," my son would be bloody. How can I not tell the beat? I know what I'm doing. Yeah, so we need to make this clear for people. If I can't tell, what can most people tell? We'd just be fucking lying. And don't think that people don't care about that. They don't know that they care about that. But when the piece doesn't get into them, and that's why. Something about that bass there seemed kind of... It seemed like the guy came in at the wrong place. Nothing else was that big. And so, and the rest of this, really, again, doing just flat out doing this. You have the choir too. I guess we can't not have this on the demo, but honestly, this has been done, hasn't it? Kind of, isn't this all that's done? And I'm not sure. I think that we feel good about ourselves when we do something that sounds just like, I think we feel good about that. And it might even get us a job with the people who go, yeah, this is what we do here. And so, however, this is not you, my friend. This is not you. I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you've gone through in your life, but this is not you, uniquely you. And I'm not talking about the sound. I'm not talking about the orchestration. I'm talking about anything that makes the expression, the melodic presentation, the structural presentation, the orchestrational presentation. This is not you. And when people obsess about finding your sound, A lot of people actually just immediately throw that off into like which devices that you use, but it's not. Your personal signature shows up inexorably, inevitably, unavoidably in 1,000 ways, unless you're doing this. Because it's been boxed out by everything that Hans Zimmer's ever done. That's boxed out. We don't have an opportunity to hear you. You can write in the style of Hans Zimmer. You can write in the style of John Williams. But if you go here, there's no room for you to do what you do with those ingredients. You don't have to reinvent the language. You don't have to come up with anything, but this is not you. I have no insight into anything about who you really are as an individual. And in terms of truth, then it's bereft. Then it's an impression. It's a perfectly good impression. Sounds like it to me. I mean, how could you? You're hired. More than that. And I'm more interested in the first half of this first minute at which, let me tell you something. When you get into the gates of Evermore and all this fucking fairy fantasy shit we're all drowning in now, the nice thing about it is that you get to do that sort of elven foresty shit. So really milk it. Will you get in there? Get us some of those pan flute type of shit and really nail the melody down so that we can indulge in it. Because this is purely, you got the fucking Mark tree. This is wonderfully indulgent. We can see the fairy lights and the gold tendrils and forests and shit. We can little pointy ears and we can see all that. So that's great. But now make it now be singing it and whistling it. Okay? So stronger on that melody, twice through that melody. Keep hammering it home. I can't say this enough. This advice will never, ever fail you. Never. It will never fail you. It will only ever make your music get in deeper, insidious, under people's skin. They can't even help it. That's what we want. That's what we want to do. We want people to... I can't get it out of my head. That's it. Haha, that's great. That's what we want. All right. Okay, let's hear this one. Goodbye, Elizabeth. What sample? That's not a sample. No, this is live. Is this an excerpt? I would have loved to hear the rest of it. If this is a full cue, I would love to know where the first part of it is. However, fascinating, very sophisticated. This is a very sophisticated version of what I'm talking about, where's the melody? Where's the thing that you're locking onto? There's actually something, however, I'll bet everybody who's listened to this will agree that there was something cohesive. It felt somehow cohesive. And there are many things that were cohesive about it. The internal motion, the resolution from one, where one would have a voice and another would answer, and another would have a voice and another would answer, and another would have a voice and another would answer. And that pattern happened over and over and over again, such that that became the anchor. This is not a thematic or melodic piece in a traditional vein, but it does embody the very quality that we want to get in all of our music, which is that it is all connected and does not feel random. Even though you don't know where it's going, you can feel the progression of it. The caveat being, especially when we hear the first part of this is somehow missing. It's like the first half of that phrase. Boy, I can't beat live instruments though, can you? It's very, it's got a real Howard Shore quality to it. In your head it was super melodic. Yeah, I was going to say this, your head can handle melodies vastly more complicated than most of us can. So you should be practicing dumbing it down, because this is a wonderful place to take people once they're already with you. But this particular take will not be absorbed by most people. We here appreciate, I very much appreciate it, and I think there's a lot of great stuff in there. And I'm totally digging on the live thing right now. But I also recognize that this is sophisticated in a way that is aspirational, but I'm not impressed by it if you can't do this simply. And I have a feeling that you struggle with something very simple. It's never, how can you say something complex if you can't say it simply? Then you should always be able to do it. So for you, you're right, this is absolutely melodic, and it's a very sophisticated melody, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for you, the thing to work on, the thing to practice, simpler melody. Do that so that we can appreciate that you could go here with this. And this reminded me a bit of the score to Silence of the Lambs, which will enjoy minutes in which it's wandering and meandering and will do those sorts of things, and you're not quite sure, like it's very atmospheric. But again, just like everything else, that's earned because of. How many times does that happen in the film? 1 billion. Okay, so same criticism applies. You've got that. You've got those chops, and those are those are good. But we need to see that you can control them, and you can control them when you can really keep your vocabulary simpler, and then lead people into that. Well, my very contemporary and dissonant. Yes, I agree, and that's. And when it comes to to contemporary composers and all that dissonance and all those explorations, I am only ever as interested or motivated or pursued or inspired by that to the degree that people control it. And when those guys can't do the simpler version, then they're not in control of it. Then they're doing that because they can't connect with people. And now they have to create a tiny little world for them to live in, whereby it's only their friends and their narcissistic, Pygmalion-esque visions of themselves in which their work is worth anything, because nobody else gives a fuck about it. So it's very different to see. It's very different to use these devices at will and with choice than to be like, well, I just don't write that simple stuff. You can't write that simple stuff. Star Wars was the extension of the thing that Lucas began with American Graffiti. And George Lucas liked to do experimental weird-ass fucking films. He was like a filmmaker. And I think it was Coppola challenged him to do a goofy little, just do an Americana kind of comedy. So he did American Graffiti, just to see if, it was like a dare. Oh yeah, you with all your THX, can you make a fucking regular movie? And he'd say, oh, I'll show you. And he made American Graffiti, and it did it. And after that, he liked him so much he decided to become a billionaire and make Star Wars. So there's really something to be said for being able to do that. You give me incredible perspective. I'm always being told my music is borderline dumb. There's nothing dumb. Dumb? First of all, anybody who would say that, let's hear their fucking pop ballad. Dumb. I hate people who say shit like that. What can you do? All right, so no. So again, be careful of universities. It's like, have you ever noticed that architects build the shittiest buildings? It's always concrete, glass, right angles. They look like municipal parking garages. That's because they hang around architects all day, and they fucking architects love all that shit. It's super clean. It's a concrete, glass, and it's like, you know, and you're like, this doesn't look like. And the chairs are all modern. It's wood, right angles, and it's because they all hang around architects. They never have like some soccer mom going, "What the fuck is this? How am I going to clean this place?" They don't have that. They don't. They're disconnected from the whole world. And you don't want to be that way in music. You want to stay connected. Stay connected. Get down there. Get on the street. What does mom and dad and everybody else like? All right. Let's get the next piece here. Thanks for playing that. That was cool. I mean, just nice for us to all hear too. Some live instruments. Sorry, didn't realize it was blowing the whole thing out there. Okay, you had me. You had me for 30 seconds. By the way, this opening thing, he can move on from it because it's a complete idea. You need that in there. It's just weird without it. You just need it. Our brains are doing it, by the way. Our brains are going. We are doing that for you, and because you're not doing it, it's a ghost figure like that. It's just what the brain does. So give it to us. You know what would be really sexy? That's how you tie it into the beginning. That's how you do that. And here, 30 seconds. You did not need to move. You could have do that idea again in the horns. Do it again. It was nice. We're not done. So this would have been much sexier and more satisfying if right now we were now hearing the completion of that fully developed first idea, instead of the last 15 seconds you sort of went off in a different thing. Template sounds real good. Go keep the idea going. You have a good idea. Don't leave us. You could be doing it right again. In fact, it would make this call and answer stuff a lot stronger. And your progression is very natural. overstayed its welcome a little bit there at the end. I think you need another set of orchestrational devices to keep that moving on without it seeming like it's going to repeat. But let's focus on, let's stay again, but I still think this piece, it's only 2 minutes. 2 minutes is not a long time. You should be able to sustain this idea. And I would have definitely used that opening figure as an answer to the melody when you started it, so that you're tying it in, and then you could have made it the bass for your B section. So when you switch to the horns, stay with your idea. You have a good strong idea there, good strong melody idea. Keep going with it. Don't switch gears. Again, we're going to hear this. I guarantee we're going to hear this all night. We're going to keep hearing us get tired of our own ideas. I was not tired of your idea. I was not feeling like, okay. At the end I was, because you'd sort of hit the peak and then like, anyway, let's just keep going with it. Template sounds real good. Okay. First of all, don't apologize for your work. Everybody's learning everything, including me, from your stuff. None of that. Just can that shit. Everybody's piece is welcome here and useful. There's not one single bar of this we're not learning. Everybody's learning from this. You know, when you get confirmation of something you already know, then that's useful too. Don't get on yourself about that. I hate that. You're doing great. So we're a minute 30 into it. The progression is fine. The leading us from one thing to the next is fine. Here's where you are going to benefit from having, because in these sorts of things where we're doing that sort of internally dissonant building to crescendo to some sort of relief, and dissonance to consonance is the game. That's the pleasure pain thing. You have to be aware of the power of your dissonances, because what happened is you hit your most powerful dissonance, your major seventh dissonance, and then other dissonances that you had after that weren't as strong. And once you've hit that major seventh, you can't make it any more tense than that, and so you've sort of blown your wad. So harmonically, having taken a little bit more time to get to that would have made it more of a linear, because what you ended up doing is you were building, and then there was this little dip, because once you hit that one dissonance, the most powerful dissonance you're going to have, it was only going to be downhill from there. And so so it'll benefit you to do more practicing with building up dissonances, so that you can take more time with them and not hit the moment before you want to. Here I feel like we're a little out of ideas. The mix is also real percussive heavy, which is good for establishing our thing in the beginning. But especially, you know, when we're getting into this, we want a nice change up. I think here is where that would be really nice to have had that move onto something more, so something gentler. Move that into piccolo snares, or move that into brush snares, or move that into you know, in the delicate strings and woods or something, to move the rhythm into another color, because we've heard now this a lot, and we're real in danger here of sounding like we've gone back to the beginning, and we want this piece to always feel like it's going someplace it hasn't gone before. Okay? I'm not crazy about those wood things. They don't belong to what you're doing. But you have certainly, more so than not, given us something to lock onto during it. And for the duration of that piece, that's definitely helped forgive a lot of sins. But I would have to say that the thing that's betraying you, starting at 140 something, 120 something, 130, is simply the breadth of your harmonic vocabulary. How many other places can you go? And that's why I think you essentially restarted. So that's where I'd be working on, if I were you, would be you know, playing with getting into some more sophisticated harmonic tonalities, so that you can extend a build like that for 2.5 minutes, and don't hit it until you're really ready, and not have any of those false, those you know, that sort of premature ejaculation, which nobody likes that. Other than that, you know, there's an inherent sense of motion in there, which, you know, now that I see it, is about for a Philadelphia rail park. It's appropriate. It's good. So nice, and plus nice new sound in there. We hadn't heard that tonight, so thanks for that. That was cool. But and again, what worked about it for me was the pattern establishment of it. What didn't work for me was the that you gave it up a little soon and then didn't know where else to go. It's not a bad problem to have. Got it? And by the way, you know, and listening to, we'll listen to some stuff a little bit later, because like, well, okay, where else do you go? This is what you listen to other stuff for. So you either think, oh, I never heard that chord before. That's how you just listen. All right, let's listen to the next piece here. When it comes down, it's coming down in 3, 2, 1. Make these closer to each other. More a direct connection, so we can stay with you. I'm pretty close to with you. So keep the melody, keep the rhythm the same. So let that note hold. Let it be. Don't make it short. Let it be flowing, because you've got a flowing line. This reminds me a little bit of Randy Newman's Awakenings score. you have nothing. Just let me stop. You have, first of all, the development on this is good, but this idea da-da, you have nothing else that's suggesting that sort of play. If you're going to do that, you know, whatever you need to signal that somewhere else so that it doesn't just sound like the person ran out of air. It's just it's an idea. And if everything else is just and everything's doing this, and you've got this one line going, it doesn't feel like you meant it. If everything else is giving it sort of that little accent to dee-dum, be-dum, then we know what you mean. Okay, so don't let it be the lone thing trying to because with everything else being flowy like that, then that sounds wrong. It sounds like don't think it's what he meant. Make it clearly intentional by having it supported. Okay? I think it's a sample issue. That's coming out a little strong. Structure's okay. Development's okay. You know, I think this may be one of those times where you're now in my world, which I'm not sure it's the strongest. I think there's a slightly prettier, more wistful, winsome version of that idea, maybe. It's nice, but what I like about it especially is that some version of that is going to be with us. I think you could make it even clearer. Is really, really connect the developments of them by keeping them closer to each other as you develop. Otherwise, structurally, some nice stuff in there. Again, keep the style consistent in those melodic things. It's more like a waltz now. All right. Tonight on NBC News. Sorry. By the way, that's not just an offhanded fuck you comment. That's how powerful these conventions are. And we need to be aware of them. Because you do this. Nobody's expecting that, but they think you're about to announce tonight's headline story. It's not your fault. Composers before you beat you to that 100 billion times. So as soon as you're going, any version of that, that's where our brains go. So if you didn't mean that, are you doing that thing from Batman? Are you doing that thing from Batman? Are you doing that thing from Batman? I think you're doing that thing from Batman. It's definitely got that background cue kind of thing to it, although the way in which it's developing is not offensive. It's taking its time, and it's kind of saying, yeah, this rhythmic idea is kind of what we're about here. So it's getting a little random in here. Don't try to be clever. Put the stuff on the beat together. Right. Okay. Okay, that's a good development. That's a good place to go with that. But don't leave that to just the harps doing that. Get that's classic woodwinds doubling with that. Quietly, for extra power. But that's exactly where to go with that. From an idea standpoint, other than the unfortunate thing that it's suggesting, and that's sort of random, the actual way in which this is unfolding is good. Actually, it's taking its time. I would much rather that than people rush through it and change it and go to a billion ideas, because I think that's that sound is never good. And actually, you have some patience with this idea, which I really appreciate. It's very close on the border to you needing to have just a couple of more things to be able to do with this. It's a little simple in terms of, that's the thing that we're supposed to be afforded by. The thing we're supposed to be afforded by these simple ideas is it gives us freedom to do other stuff. Somewhere around here in the 50s or something, it was really begging for a pedal tone, something that was holding through it, whether it was in the middle or down here somewhere, something that was moving in order to offset this constant bottom, this constant rhythm. But as a truly underscore cue, it's not bad in its structure. With that orchestrational note at the end, and it had opportunities and potential to go some places. So I certainly got with you on the idea. That goes a long way. That goes a long way. Okay, let's go to the next piece. 30 seconds. Okay. And that's here. So it'll take a second to come down. Sure what it's partially a mix issue. I don't know what to focus on. There's that piece is all impression. So here, if you're going to keep that idea, whatever that is, then that should have been an octave, whatever it is. Because because our ears mix-wise, we're only hearing the fiddle, and so that would have been good to take that into octave. So that's keeping us connected to that idea throughout this piece. And with a piece this short, then we should only be hearing that idea. Then if you're going to now move things, then what's going on in the bass should be that idea, a very slight variation of that idea. Just keep hammering it. It's only 30 seconds. There's no reason to have deviated like that at all. It would make that piece stronger. So you have a mix issue and a little bit of an orchestrational issue and a slight structural issue to make that the tightest 30 seconds it could be. So because there's just no reason to not keep that idea going. There's no reason. And it's funny and cute and quirky and all that. And that's just, that would tighten that up just a little bit. All right, good. I think we're hearing a lot of different types of stuff here. Of course, that idea did very, very well, what we were talking about, which is it stayed on its idea. Good. And it's almost in my head. It's almost in there. It's very close. It's good. I like that. All right, let's hear this piece in 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, if you're gonna make this your melody, you're doing it the right way, which is you're doing it. Desperately in need of another color. That you have, this is all strings. It's a strings fest, and they're fighting each other. They're right in the same range and fighting each other, such that those top strings, you might have moved that to piano or woods, something, so that, and at this point, move it to woods in octaves, nice, something like that. You need to change up the colors. You're real bored of the sound now, and you're fighting yourself in the beginning with those ranges. I do like that you're holding on to that idea, because it's kind of a you know what? Unquestionably, your idea and your development is not your issue here. You're out of colors. You're out of colors, which is how you sustain interest on a piece like this. Radically interesting and ever-changing colors. This should be This idea should be moving all over your sonic palette. You should be moving this from the high flutes, the low flute, down to the tuba. This should be going all over the place. Because you're doing the same thing over and over again. It's a little bit challenging, a little bit quirky, and that's what's going to make this fun, and that's what's going to make it feel like you intended all this. It's sort of this frenetic kind of thing. So you have a homogenization and orchestration issue, which is actually stealing from our ability to stay focused on your idea. Yeah. So what I loved about it was that you just stayed on the same thing over and over and over and over again. Okay, great. Good. That's a great thing. Let's start there. However, that particular idea, orchestrationally, you need to be really stretching out and moving it around. So because that's not that kind of idea isn't the kind of idea that it's not. It doesn't have. It's not sugary or salty. It's just not how you describe it. It's not instantly fried in dough, and you're not just necessarily going to like that. But you'll grow to like that and appreciate its quirkiness as it deftly moves around in octaves and colors. So absent those colors, it actually makes it hard to stay focused on, and it starts to overstay its welcome a little bit. All right. Good, though. Good. All right. This is so great, you guys. I am so impressed that you are putting these pieces up here. Fuck yeah. All right, let's see. I mean, you know, this is good. All this is good. I'm learning stuff. So thank you. I like to learn stuff. I need to learn stuff. Oh, wave audio. Okay, let's see what I can open this with. Doesn't QuickTime open waves? I'm on a Mac. My primary workstation is a PC, so I never remember what Macs can open and can't open. How about iTunes? Can iTunes open a wave? Sure you can. Come on. Right? 2 minutes. All right, we'll see that one in 2 minutes. Meanwhile, let's see what else we got. Okay, here's a piece. Okay, it's been requested that we listen to the first minute. Okay. Good. Answer and answer. The mix is a little quiet. Bill. Okay. Okay, fine. We could talk about the inherent strength of your idea. We have some orchestrational stuff here. I'm going to bring that melody out more. You need to bring that idea out. But I like the development very much. Very Italian. Good, good. Very simple. Very simple. Good. You know, I think at this point where you're bringing in this is where you need a more operatic, wider, more connected string glue. So if you're going to have those pits, basses, and cellos doing that role, let the rest of the stuff flow a little bit more, because it feels like we're going backwards somehow in intensity when you want us to be going forward intensity. So I'd say this is an orchestrational challenge because the development and the presentation of this idea, we're with you. We're with you. And we're with you for the most obvious reasons. It's very nice. Cool. All right. Good. Let's try this one. This is great. I'm hearing this. Getting to know you guys couldn't possibly... This is how you really learn somebody, through their music too, you know? I mean, this is their music, man. They put their shit out there. This is... Okay, easy. This isn't music yet. This is sound design, just so we're clear. actually did it. You did it. You did Batman. You actually did Batman. Okay. This isn't your music. This is not you in any way. You are way hipper and cooler and more interesting and individual than this. I guarantee it. I guarantee if you were here right now and we were having a beer, you're more interesting than this. Guarantee it. This is like, this is not, I don't know who, I know who this is. And it's not this great. It ain't great. I want you to stop this. Should have started with this. This at least is something unique to it. But you're not putting your love into this melody. You're putting your love into the I'm sounding like Zimmer. It's what it feels like. It's that at least sound, that quality was different. Again, this is important. He's doing a good job of having something on his demo reel that I guess you got to have now. But this is not you, and it isn't even that great. And I don't think your love is I don't think your love is in it. I think your love is in making it sound this way versus what you have to say. In other words, if I'm a director and a producer, there's no reason for me to choose you over 100,000 people who do this. This is an important. You know what I mean? This is that voice thing. It has nothing to do with it's that I don't think you were trying to let me hear you. I think you were trying to let me hear that you can do that thing. And a lot of people, in fact, now a lot of people can do that thing. Everybody does that thing. So how are you going to stand out now? This is not going to. This might get you a couple of gigs, but this isn't going to make you stand out. This isn't going to get you your own statue. This isn't going to get you your own thing. So I would have absolutely started with the one part of it that was different. I kind of like that thing that you got going on there. But you're highlighting the problem with this stuff. Unless that internal idea is super strong, it really gets old quick. Harmonically a different language than you've been speaking. This is getting louder and louder and louder, but it is not getting more memorable at all. This is not what makes erections. So if I were you, what I would do is congratulations, you've done this. You can do this. You can do this at will. You can do this at command. Good. It's an important skill. It's a working skill. I do not want to minimize the ability to even do this. I do want to minimize severely your need to do this. I think you've done this now. And I would mine this for the more interesting parts of it. Because this is way, 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 way too close to a parody of Zimmer. And that's just not helping you. And you've had a different life than Hans Zimmer. You've had your own ups and downs, and I would be much more interested in hearing your life story than Hans's story filtered through your workstation. You know, I want you to write stuff that you know, that people associate with you. And again, this is not just a simple function of. Now, let me ask you this, because I've been pretty harsh on you here. This has been on your page for 4 months. Is that what this is? It's been on your page for 4 months. Yeah, release date, 24 November. Now, I don't know anything about your following, but does this say that 4 people have liked it and 54 people have played it? Is that what I'm saying? Because I just want to detour for a second and say that the anonymous social media forwarding and feedback on our pieces is some of the most valuable feedback that we can get. Because when people really like something and they see, and all they have to do is click and forward it to people, they will. And when we see that our music is not motivating people to share it, not motivating people to comment, not motivating people, that is free market research. They're just not that into it. That's extraordinarily valuable feedback. Because people will not fail. I said a cat video, I said a cat video. They'll have 1 million views in an hour. So, yes, it's a little different when we have music. And yes, you have a certain following and whatnot. But don't forget that, you know, your 2 friends tell their 2 friends, tell their 2 friends, tell their 2 friends, and you know how all that works. So sometimes there's something to be said for, yeah, you know, and by the way, this is why I track all my shit. Because I'm not perfect either. Sometimes I have no fucking idea, and I'll look at a piece, and I'll on my website think, you know, it's not so bad. And then there's 0 clicks on it. 0. Okay, people, or I notice that people listen to it for 5 seconds and stop. Okay, nobody likes that piece. And my favorite experience with that was on my first record. I was 20 years old, and I was in this recording studio. It was in a house. It was in a mansion in Calabasas. I don't think it's there anymore, and I don't remember what it was called now, but it was a mansion in Calabasas that doubled as a recording studio. And I was recording some piano parts out there. I did the rest of it at Chick Corea's place, but I was up there playing his piano, and the president of the label was there, and I'm doing a sound check, and I was dicking around making up this little tune. And the president of the label says, "What's that tune?" And I was like, "It's not a tune. I'm just fucking around." He goes, "Well, that song needs to be on the record." I was like, no, I was sort of actually making fun of this kind of music. That was between me and the engineer. That's not a real song. And he said, no, that's a real song, and that one needs to be on the record. In fact, that one needs to be in a featured place in the record. And I was like mortified, like where I was like feeling the blood draining out of my head. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's not a real song. It's really gay and fruity and stupid, and it's not real, and it's a joke, and it's a parody. And I would be embarrassed to ever let anybody know. This was a sound check, and I wasn't supposed to be listening. The mics aren't supposed to be on. And he kept saying it, kept saying it, kept saying it. And pointed where he put his foot down. He said, that's either going on the record, and that's going out as the first single, or I'll dissolve the contract right now. Fuck. The fuck? That's the tune that went to #1. Hands down, to this day, I make more money on that tune than on any other tune from any of my records combined. I check the statement every quarter. So, what the fuck did I know? This stupid little tune called Saul Steps Out, they played the shit out of that tune. I had no fucking idea. It's a horrible, stupid little tune. So sometimes you have to just concede that, you know, that we don't have the perspective on our own work. That's just how it is. So my friend here, like I said, in terms of a piece, you know, look, everybody's got to do. You know who cannot do this thing to save his ass? Me. I just can't do the sound. I don't know what to do. I can't do it. I've tried. I just want you to let you know that I've tried to do the Zimmer thing, even though he told me specifically to my face not to. I had to try to see could I do the Zimmer thing. I can't do it. I haven't made enough of a study of it. Can't do it. Can't even fake it properly. So you're doing better than I am, brother. But honestly, let's hear your own thing. Let's hear your thing. Let's hear your thing. All right. And when you guys write these, you guys write these descriptions, and I'm not reading them, and I'm not reading them very much on purpose, because there are some things that we can express in words. We have music for all the things that can't be expressed in words, and if you got to explain the joke, it isn't funny. So, let me hear this piece here. This is so great. I'm so proud of you guys. For some reason, I'm on a Mac. It's not Control. It's the funny other key. It's the other little. It's the Apple. You know what? There's a little thing that I could do to do this too, and I don't do it. I don't do the thing where you. There we go. You can remap your keyboard. We should make this go away. The path of lost kings knew. Oh, totally let by your samples. This needs to be biting and rosiny and fuck you in order for this to work at all. Yep, this really needs that. This needs to be super bold. Good. You're doing the idea. I don't think it's that strong an idea. It's my take. But very. Could at least go back to the tonic or something. Time for development. Move the chord. Move the chord. Gotta move this. You need to move these. You need to start moving this along harmonically. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Definitely need to be moving this on. This is time to now. This needs to be another instrument. This needs to be in octaves of strings, and something else. Need to be moving this on. And these sort of quiet strings in the back, we did this already. You got to develop. But you are definitely being let down by your samples, and not your fault. To really do this with that like bold, you can't do this. Okay, so definitely need to now do this in a. Now we need to modulate this, move it up a fourth, if you need to. But we need to move this to another, because it's just, we've now heard it. It's not, I mean, you've done the very good thing of establishing a precedent and establishing a pattern and giving us clarity. Okay, we need to move this along. We've got to move this up to simple modulation would help, but also an orchestrational stuff. And here we've got the violin kind of answering. No, let them take the melody. We've heard this thing. We've heard this. Please tell me this is going to go somewhere. Okay, yeah, this was due a minute ago. Okay, so we definitely need to be moving this along from a chord standpoint, because it's just way overstaying its welcome. Again, remember, this is the other side of that sword. When you have a nice simple idea, you've got to move it, and you've established it. Then you need to move on, because otherwise I don't have any reason to listen to 234. I already heard it at 134. It's just that simple. And it's not, I mean, listen to an idea. Listen to, what? Here's your assignment, my friend. Right now, after you're done listening to my yapping, go listen to Bolero. Just go listen to Bolero by Ravel. Bolero. You'll know why. It's one idea over and over and over again. Go listen to Bolero. That's your assignment. Do that. My son. Oh yes, you're right. I did. We had downloaded a wave piece. Let's see about that one. Is it this? One. Good. And melody. And melody. This is all the background. Again, I like that you're okay, but you have not established what the idea is. You gave us an introduction that didn't go anywhere. Kind of a random. Okay, so again, I'm always encouraged and am encouraged to hear you returning to the idea. But if that's going to be the idea, it needs to be clear. It needs to be much more clearly stated. The problem is we just forget what it's hard for us to know what our audience hears. How can you not tell that was the melody? No, it's not you. Okay, that's an interesting choice. Little phaser in there. Yeah, fuck you, I put a phaser in there. I like that. I didn't expect that. Wouldn't have called that in a million years. Such that I've forgotten to notice anything else about the piece, so you did your job. But I'm telling you, you'd better come back to that idea in a second. Okay, so this has gotten totally freaky. This is great. How are we here? You know, that's kind of hip in its way. I did not see that coming. Did anybody see that coming? I don't even know what to say about this. Okay, yes I do. My feeling is, again, the same rules apply. In fact, bracketing and foreshadowing are always powerful tools in storytelling. A parenthetical, which is kind of what this piece would be a very powerful way to to do this. By the way, I really dig that we're even talking about this, because I thought that was kind of cool how that went that way. But I would do this as a parenthetical, so that so there's some hint of that vocabulary and language somewhere in the offset, even if you're just just teases of it, and then we return to it at the end. And what that'll do is, like, look, bracketing is the cheapest tool in the world, but there's a reason for it. Even, because it's just like, think about one of those movies where it starts, in the thing, and it goes, okay, hold on, let's go back to 5 days ago. That's a very common form of storytelling, and it's very powerful. And it stops, and even though what happened 5 days ago is completely different than where the movie opened or where the story started, it therefore makes it connected because you started with the bracket, and then but hold on, let me back up. And I think if you'd approach the piece the same way, so that there's some sort of shadow how hip that was going to get at the end there, then we'd really be able to enjoy it. But let's all be totally real with the fact that my first feeling was I sort of enjoyed the not having seen it coming. So, that's maybe debatable. My personal approach was, if that's where you're going to end up, give a little flavor of that and move on and make your melodic statement clearer so that we can really enjoy what you're going to do with it in the end. Like you said, somebody says it's Floyd, yeah. So 10 points to you for throwing a fucking curveball, completely past, I think, everyone who was listening to that. I mean, that's, jaded music fucks, and I didn't see that one coming. So there you go. That's good. I like that. I like that there. But again, just structurally, there's even when you go see magicians or illusionists whose whole point is misdirection, and there's usually a through line, something in the beginning of their pieces that foreshadow things that are going on in the end. So, yeah. So, right on. That was great. All right, let's see here. What we got here. These are great pieces. Okay. Isn't it funny, by the way, how our levels are all over the place? Nobody in the world, we don't really know. We all watch our meters, right? And everybody's just looking to see that they don't hit zero, but it's a different zero. It's everybody's zero is different. Or something. It's like there's something about that. What do we got here? 11 seconds? 10 seconds? Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Do the same rhythm twice. Do at least the same rhythm. Do at least a da-dum, ba-da, da-dum, ba-da. Don't be afraid of that. Just trust me. It just immediately, 98% of the people on the planet are not musicians. Do you understand? And that they will like everything more about what you have to say when you said, trust me. Trust me. And you didn't even do it the second time. It wasn't even an 8-bar phrase. Da-da-da-da. If you'd done it that time, then it would have counted. Same thing. Yeah. So I think, it's the same thing. We hear this a lot. And we all do this. I've done this. We're just overthinking it. We're just making more of it than needs to be. Now the melody again. Okay, I'll give you a break. But you've got to do that melody again. Get into it. Get into it. Okay. Nice, pretty. But this will only be as effective and as powerful as you've established that first melody, and I would be doing it again this first time. Just stay on it. Don't have to change it. Ooh, why do we always feel we got to change it? Why do we always feel it's got to be more? It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Get that out of your head. You know, it's funny too. We all do this. I've done this so much. There's something we're all listening to. There's something we all lose sight of it. We all lose sight of it in the same way. It's endemic, pandemic amongst composers. Somebody's going to make a study of that. But we're making a study of it right now, and we are seeing it happen. Well, I don't know why we all do this, but let's all unlearn it and fix it. I like your string sounds except for that sucking at the beginning. I hate that whenever I hear that, and I have that in so many of my samples. That's, you know, that attack suck. Everything sounds like it's backwards. Fuck that. Get a real string structure. A little wandery, a little without clear focus here. Guessed. Okay. Yeah, again. Hey, you could do this as a soprano sax. Well, one thing I want to compliment this piece on is that the title is All That We've Lost. It's funny how it has encapsulated some sort of feeling of that, a bittersweet. It's not necessarily minor. It's reverent in its own way. I wanted to give it credit for that. Other melodic issues aside, because. Because being able to say what the vibe is right away and capture it and encapsulate the essence of it is no small task. And I think that says that to me. But it's not with me, my friend. This is not with me. I can't carry this with me into the shower or whatever. And that's simply because of you not holding fast to which of those ideas you really want to say. And we would be all well served to come back and listen to pieces, where we just oversold the melody than undersold the melody. So a lot of nice stuff in there. All right, let's listen to this one. You have a mix and/or orchestration issue. You've got your melody, which is a flute, which is not particularly strong, in the exact same range as your violins, which is not working and would never work. You could mark those violins piano, and then they're not going to have the bite that you want. They're not going to have that. One thing that you can do with this is you could have this doubled. This could have been doubled on something so that you could have dropped in other words, say you doubled that thing that's going in the beginning on piano and or harp, so that you could drop the violins an octave and get them out of the way, and the leftover instruments in that range wouldn't have the power that strings have to overpower your flute. I think your flute's balance is probably relatively realistic in this case, so rather than think about just pushing the fader and making it cut through, it's not comfortable. You also might have been able to raise that melody an octave. Maybe more powerfully, if you're really committed to having strings there, then at least double this with the clarinet and bring them out. Unless that was supposed to be, yeah. This is too low. This is way too low for flute. This range is not flute unless it's pretty much by itself. That's clarinet. And if you're going to put flute there, which I don't really know why, but I would do that as clarinet instead of maybe. And then save your